What if, the dragon that changed everything, Tensura Fanfiction, author, ErogonWolf, a dragon floated through the infinite void, drifting into the very space where Veldanava was creating the world. Just as the creator put the finishing touches on his work, a deal was made. Seals were placed, and a new world awaited exploration. Eons later, a certain slime and his manas began to examine the void itself. Ciel discovered a mysterious door that Veldanava had sealed shut, viewing it as a challenge to overcome. However, unknown to her, the world beyond that door holds a power even stronger than her master. What chaos will be unleashed when the gate is finally opened? Chapter 15. Time Walkers encounter within a city in Bloomond. A girl with black hair and blue eyes, wearing a mask on the side of her face, was eating at a tavern when she noticed a portal opening in the air. A familiar green-haired demon walked out and spoke. A new demon lord has been born. Her name is Luminous Valentine and her title is the Queen of Nightmares. That is all, said Misery, walking back through the portal as it closed. Wait, isn't it a few years early for her to become a demon lord? Said the girl quietly. Yes, it is, at least 3 years early, Chloe, said a woman's voice in the girl's head. That is true, Miss Hinata, responded Chloe, chuckling slightly. I bet you were surprised about my true strength. Yeah, I was surprised that you were the hero that will seal away Veldora in a few years, said Hinata, noticing someone sitting with them. Who is that? Wait, I didn't even sense her approach and sitting with us, retorted Chloe. Let's see what she wants, she added as she looked at her. The girl who sat down had red hair and crimson eyes, wearing leather armor with black underclothes so the armor doesn't rub on her skin. On her hip was a katana. So, done talking with your friend? Said the girl, which shocked both Chloe and Hinata. How did you know that there were 2 people in this body? Asked Chloe. I have an intrinsic skill that allows me to see souls as flames. When I saw you a few days ago, I got interested by the 2 flames, though technically there are 3, right? Said the girl. I see, said Chloe, screaming in her head. What the hell? How can someone have a skill like this? I've never heard of her before we met. So, what do you want? And what is your name? Oh, forgive my lack of tact, said the girl. My name is Shayna. The Hunter's Guide gave me the title, the Flaming Hair Blazing Eyes Huntress. She smiled at the introduction. Wait, I've heard of her before, said Hinata. She is the founder of the Hunters Association that Yuki will take over in the future and turn into the Free Union Association. She's an S-rank adventurer and a high-ranked Majin, but I don't know who she serves. These memories seem fresh and not like our previous experiences with time leaping. So why is an esteemed adventurer here, and why do I have no memory of you? Said Chloe with a stern look. Shayna chuckled, probably because this is the very first time we've met, Time Leaper, or should I say, Miss Chloe. As one of her eyes shifted in color slightly, she continued, this is the first iteration in this world's timeline that the person I serve is getting involved with this world. Chloe is fine, said Chloe, as she sensed a new presence around Shayna. What's this presence? It feels like a true dragon, but one I don't recognize. So, who am I talking to now? Ho ho, said Shayna, her eyes shifting to a multicolored draconic eye. So you're used to detecting dragons like me? You have nothing to worry about. I can't use my power in Shayna's body. As Chloe shifted her weight, Shayna continued, I mean no harm, but I just wanted to give you a suggestion for a certain person in the future. A suggestion, said Chloe, as Hinata listened curiously. Yes. When you save a girl of fire, bring her to this girl, as she can easily teach her to control the flame, said the person possessing Shayna. Wait, you're talking about, said Chloe, as Shayna put her finger to her lips to keep her quiet. It might change her fate, said Shayna as her eyes slowly turned back to normal. Oh, if you want to speak with me in person, go to Falmouth and seek out a person named Irisveal. As her eyes finally returned to normal, she grumbled, damn it. I hate it when he does that. Okay, what did he mean by that? Said Chloe, slamming her hand on the table. Damn the man for giving me more work, said Shayna, pulling out a pendant. I heard from the person I serve that in the future, there is a girl who hated this world for what it did to her. I wanted to help her by training her to accept what she has and to look for the better things in life. She pulled some melon bread from her own storage skill. I see, but why would you train her? Said Chloe, as a voice spoke up from the pendant. Pardon her lack of conversational skills, said the voice. She prefers fighting to politics. My name is Alistair. In this world, I'm known as a superior fire spirit stronger than Ifrit, and I have a decent connection to Shayna. Lord Wolfsbane wants to change Shazu's fate by giving her an example of what a bond can be with a superior spirit. Once that is possible, Lord Wolfsbane will give her a new superior spirit, but have their personality dormant. But won't that change the timeline for another? Asked Chloe, thinking about the person she loves. Not exactly, said Alistair. Sir Wolfsbane has a plan in place. As they continued to discuss the plan, Chloe's expression changed from a serious tone to that of talking to an ally she could tolerate. Well, I have to go speak to someone, said Chloe, getting up. Hope I see you around. You as well, Chloe, said Shayna, then whispered, you as well, Hinata. As Chloe turned around, Shayna was gone. The only thing that remained was a red, fire-like feather dissipating into nothingness. Wait, where did she go? Thought Chloe. Most likely she had a time-stop ability and we just saw it. She seems stronger than us right now, responded Hinata. I see, thought Chloe as she sighed. Well, let's get going. She started to walk towards Night Rose. On one of the roofs of the huts, Shayna was watching Chloe leave. You know, you could have talked to her personally, she said, looking behind her. Erogon. You know why, said Erogon. If we talked, it may have altered the course of the world that is set in motion. If we speak in the cave, that's fine, but not out in the open. As Chloe left the city and sharpened her senses, she felt a massive energy behind her in the town. When she turned to look at the source, she saw Shayna talking with someone cloaked in shadow. Who is that? Why couldn't I sense them until now? As Shayna saw Chloe looking in their direction, she just waved goodbye. The figure glanced in Chloe's direction, and it sent shivers down her spine like she was looking at a monster way beyond her capabilities. Those eyes are like rainbows and their mana is enormous. How could they not be detected by the other residents? Wait, I didn't sense them until I activated my detection skills, so they're keeping their power hidden. She let out a sigh and continued on her way, thinking, I may have to meet him soon. Chapter 16. Warning and results within the Night Rose Palace. Luminous was working in the garden while Artoria rested on a lounge chair under a small gazebo. So, have you forgiven me yet? Asked Artoria. A little, said Luminous, but I'm still not happy you allowed me to be dragged away by Milam. It's not like I can stop the destroyer easily, you know, said Artoria. You want me to vanish from here? She quickly shut up. What do you mean by that? Asked Luminous, tilting her head towards Artoria. And why did you tell me to hide my real race from them? Artoria flinched slightly. Well, to answer your second question, since you feed on a person with high levels of divinity, you gain resistance to that divinity. Due to that, your evolution changed from true vampire to divine vampire. You don't have to feed on blood, but mostly the emotions around you. Positive emotions are best. But I would keep drinking blood to keep up appearances. I understand that part, but what did you mean by you vanishing? Asked Luminous, now standing directly over Artoria. Well, started Artoria, Master, help. Lady Luminous, said Yuki, there is a visitor here and she said she knows you. She said she knows me, said Luminous. I don't know anyone outside everyone here and Guy, Milam, Ramirez, Velzard, and Elena. At the mention of Elena, Artoria's mood slightly perked up. Well, why not meet them? Said Artoria. They might have info about the three that left after you took over. True, said Luminous, then sighed. Fine, prepare a reception room and we will be there soon. And Artoria, she added as Artoria flinched, this conversation isn't over. All right, said Artoria in a defeated voice as she got up and followed Luminous. In one of the reception rooms, Chloe was standing and looking around. Last time I was escorted to the throne room, but is it just me, or is the power around here stronger than last time? Yes, responded Hinata. It feels like divine energy along with the normal vampires here. One of the vampire maids entered the room. My lady, Lord Valentine will see you now. The maid gestured for her to leave the room. Chloe followed. I can feel Lady Luminous, but it feels different somehow, remarked Hinata. And remember, Roy and Lewis aren't around yet. Chloe nodded. They followed the maid to a noble's reception room. She opened the door and gestured. She is inside. Chloe walked into the room and was shocked. Lady Luminous Valentine was in her demon lord attire, and behind her was a woman in full plate armor with blonde hair and verdant eyes. Both were radiating divine energy, but Luminus's was less than Artoria's, mixed with a demon lord's aura. She has the same power as before, but her divine power is much purer, thought Chloe. Luminus looked at the girl and did not recognize her. So, who are you and how do you know me? Forgive me for not introducing myself earlier. My name is Chronoa, said Chloe, and I came from a future I would like to change. Said Luminus, thinking. And how do I know you're not lying? Chloe thought for a moment. I can tell you a future event, and if it occurs, I would like to be your friend. Luminus's eyebrow raised slightly. Oh, then let's hear it. Well, in a few years, said Chloe, Veldora will attack and destroy Night Rose. Luminus's aura burst out at the statement, but Artoria put her hand on her shoulder and the aura receded. Artoria whispered in her ear, and with Chloe's skills, she could hear it clearly. She is telling the truth on that, Artoria whispered. My master told me about this and ordered me not to interfere with Veldora's attack on the city. Luminus pondered the truth in Artoria's words. If what this Chloe said was true and confirmed by Artoria, but Artoria couldn't interfere, then she had to do other things. So, what is your plan? Chloe began to explain the plan she had shared over 1,000 times before. As a year went by, Luminus and Chloe became quick friends and allies. As for Artoria, in one of the training rooms, Chloe was lying on her back with multiple welts from a wooden sword. And you call yourself a hero? At your age, I was leading armies from the front, said Artoria. If I still had my sword, you would be dead at least 7 times over. Hey, I'm not like you, said Chloe, starting to get up as Artoria's sword pointed to her neck. No, you're worse, said Artoria. Whoever trained you made a mistake. How dare you, said Chloe, pushing the sword away, but she got cut by the aura around it, which shocked her. How did? What? Never seen an aura blade, said Artoria. Someone who is supposed to be a true hero has to at least know how to conjure one. Damn this girl, if I knew it would turn out like this, I would have never suggested this training. Thought Chloe as Artoria lowered her sword and sighed. So, who trained you? And don't say you're self-taught. Chloe flinched. I was trained first by my teacher Shizu, a human who had the power of Ifrit. Then I was trained by a Kijin named Hakuro. The rest was self-taught. I preferred Shizu's fighting style. Artoria smiled. Well, let me show you the flaws in that fighting style. She changed her form to her younger self, her saber form. So, you ready? Chloe nodded and got up. Unknown to either of them, Luminus and Erogon, possessing Yuki, were watching them train. This is going to be fun to watch. True, said Erogon, but his eyes were multicolored. It's been years since Artoria took on her younger form. As Luminus looked at Erogon, she saw the eyes. So, who am I speaking to now? He smiled and put his hand on his cheek. Who do you think? But I will answer. He leaned in. My name is ErogonWolf. So you are Artoria's master, said Luminus. I should thank you for sending her here. No, I just gave her a suggestion on where to head, he said. I was actually surprised that the entire Curran family was here in Night Rose. They will be a big help in a few days. He looked at the training. Veldora is coming, he whispered. Still can't see her. How do you know that Veldora is coming? Asked Luminus. Well, it's a skill I have just by coming to this world, he said. In truth, Artoria is using it right now to annoy that girl. It's called Fate Weaver, the ability to see fates and change them as the bearer wishes, but she can only use it on her own fate. Luminus pondered his words. So you have to see the person to see their fate, then you can manipulate it or change it entirely. Yes and no, he said. You're correct about the line of sight part, but all it takes is a glance for the skill to trigger. And the sight can be from any of my subordinates. So you were a king before? Asked Luminus. Artoria never mentioned it. She looked at him and saw a face that frightened her to her core. His glare was filled with rage, regret, and sadness. Pure haki leaked out as a Rongamaniad was flung between them, creating a makeshift barrier so eye contact was broken. Master, said Artoria, releasing her own haki as she reverted back to her adult form. Yuki can't handle you releasing your haki through her. I suggest you leave for today. He smiled and sat down. Very well, Artoria. He closed his eyes and his haki vanished. Yuki slumped into the chair. God damn it. Why did he do that? She coughed, spitting up some blood. Artoria walked up to Luminus and put a hand on her shoulder. There are reasons why I did not talk about Eragon all too often or his former position, said Artoria, calming Luminous down. It is a sore spot for him. I will explain more after Veldora's attack. Moments before, in the training room, Chloe and Artoria had been sparring when they sensed the hockey release. Within Chloe's mind, Hinata was having a full panic attack. Calm down, Hinata, but I admit, I want to scream as well. His power is stronger than any of the dragons we have met. As the presence vanished, everyone calmed down. Chloe, his power in just his aura is greater than Rimuru and Veldora combined. And that's after they evolved into demon lords, thought Hinata. True, but I think confronting him would be a very bad call, thought Chloe. But meeting him will be fun. She had a small smile. A few days later, Veldora attacked, and Chloe sealed him away in the Jura forest. The casualties were far lower than in the history Chloe remembered. So, what will you do now? Asked Luminous. I'm helping you out, said Artoria. And now I can tell you why Eragon nay Arlie killed you a few days ago. What? He almost killed me, Luminous, said both Luminous and Chloe. Well, hockey can be used to kill anyone with weaker power quite easily, said Artoria. But the reason his hockey flared up was because he was a king who gained an extra skill in our old world, and after the skill was activated, it destroyed our world. He cast that skill aside before we came here. Do you know its name? Asked Chloe. Yeah, said Artoria. It's Armageddon's End. Chapter 17. Time Walker and Dragon. A few months after Veldora's attack and the relocation of all the civilians to the future kingdom of Lubelius near the new border, Chloe, Artoria, and Luminous stood together. You all ready? Said Artoria. Yes, said Chloe. And thank you for the lessons on swordplay and magic usage. She bowed her head. Don't worry about it, Chloe, said Luminous. Everything will be ready for when you return. Artoria walked up to Chloe and whispered something to her, which caused her eyes to widen. Chloe then began heading towards Falmouth. As soon as Chloe was fully out of sight, Artoria collapsed as if her legs would no longer work. Artoria, what's wrong? Shouted Luminous, quickly grabbing her. She noticed that Artoria's armor felt paper-thin, and her expression was sickly. Sorry, I thought I could get back to the tent before this happened, said Artoria as Luminous carried her back to their tent. I'm just low on magicules. Luckily, it's enough for me not to go into spiritual form. Luminous sat her on a makeshift bed. Now, you mind giving me a full explanation, said Luminous, waving Roy and Lewis away from the tent. Artoria let out a sigh. You know how I told you I came from a skill, right? Luminous nodded. When we're summoned, we gain an extreme amount of magicules from our summoner that can easily be recovered from our master. But someone like me can sever that connection temporarily. Doing so means I don't gain those precious magicules that support my form and power. Don't get me wrong, I still generate magicules, but it compares to nothing against the amount I burn just using a simple skill. Artoria caused Rongaminiad to appear and placed it in a case for transport. For example, just keeping this invisible costs me more than it is worth. Artoria's left arm vanished into a spiritual form. See what I mean? So you just need to eat, sleep, and have minimal usage of magicules, or reconnect with your master, said Luminous. Artoria nodded as she began to doze off, Luminous caressing her cheek. And that would mean that I can't taste your blood for a long time. Within Falmouth, Chloe walked around, surprised by the development of the capital and the insanely large magic circle surrounding the outer wall of the castle. Who created such a huge circle, and what is its purpose? She heard a familiar song in the wind. Wait, is that the Song of Passage? She followed the sound. Let us pass, said a girl's voice in the wind, almost like a whisper. Where does this narrow path lead? Said the voice again as Chloe got closer. This is the narrow pathway to the gods in heaven, said the voice. Chloe turned a corner and found a large field with a great rock in the center. A woman with silver hair and archpriest attire sat there, continuing to sing. Your thoughts do not matter. You cannot pass. To celebrate this child's 10th, I must make an offering with these talismans. Unnoticed by Chloe, a child was practicing basic spells on the other side of the field. Going in may be pleasant, but returning is scary. Can I pass despite my fears? As the song ended, Chloe couldn't help but shed a tear. I see that our guest has arrived, said the woman as the child came running up. Master, I have finally finished mastering the spells in the book. The child shouted, excited by his accomplishment. Of course, my little disciple, she said, getting off the rock. The child backed away, realizing he had made a mistake in interrupting. But you're being rude to our guest. Here, she said, pulling out a book with a note on it, translate that and start your duty to the kingdom. Right, Raisin? The child nodded and ran off. He looks so innocent, said Chloe. The woman retorted, yes, greed rots the soul. Forgive my late introduction. My name is Irisvale von Einsburn, former head mage of Falmouth before Raisin. Okay, Miss Einsburn, said Chloe. Then can you tell me about this massive magic circle around the capital? Oh, that, Irisvale giggled. It's a large-scale teleportation circle that I placed on the original town before it became what it is today. Now I have to make a bigger one in a few days. And you can call me Irisvale. Why such a large circle? Chloe asked as they walked down an alley. Well, my master wanted to avoid harming innocent people when he awakens and bursts out from below, said Irisvale. And we're almost there. Burst out? Chloe asked as they arrived at an abandoned house. You sure this is the right place? Yes, said Irisvale. Technically, I could teleport you at any time, but it would be odd if someone disappeared in the open. She opened the door to reveal a small-scale teleportation circle. Just step on and you will be teleported to where my master is. But I should warn you, he might try to erase your memory of your interaction with him. Before Chloe stepped on the circle, she looked at Irisvale. I'll manage. She stepped into the circle and vanished. Irisvale let out a small sigh. She has no idea. Chloe had to close her eyes as the circle's light was blinding. As soon as she felt the spell end, she opened her eyes to darkness. Even with my skills, a little light would help, but it seems like this place sees very little or no light. But the magicule count here is through the roof. I have never felt this much in one place. As she tried to move, she felt something off. Why can't I move my legs? She cast a small light. Many magic ore chunks glowed, revealing her predicament. From her waist down, she was trapped in a large chunk of magic ore. As the light was absorbed by the ore, she saw the true size of the cavern. It was 10 times the size of the cave where she had sealed Veldora. The walls were filled with magic ore covered in an odd red dust. What the hell? She shouted, trying to break the ore. The strikes just bounced back. At that moment, she realized she was 40 feet off the ground, and a mass covered in shadow occupied the entire floor. Shit, did I wake that thing? Even I can tell from here that it's a true dragon, but it's in a barrier similar to my unlimited imprisonment skill, though even that barrier is ready to break. The dragon began to stir. Crap, the barrier expanded beyond the cave walls but did not affect Chloe. Wait, was that barrier just an illusion, or just concentrated while it slept? The shadow slowly dispersed, revealing a golden-scaled behemoth. However, there were patches of unformed flesh and scales, as if the dragon's material body wasn't fully formed. Its wings looked as if they were slowly merging into a new form. Whatever happened to this dragon must have happened millennia ago. You are correct, young one, said a voice. One of the dragon's tails phased through the ore and lifted Chloe out. Now, can you come down here, or do I have to climb up? Chloe took a quick glance at her freed legs, hopped down to the bottom of the cavern, and landed 30 feet from the dragon. Then she realized something. Wait, he can hear my thoughts? Sorry about that, said the dragon. It's been many years since I actually had a guest in my presence. Oh, said Chloe, it's fine. Can you take on your human form so we can speak face to face? True, speaking to you in this form is a little annoying, but there is a small issue. Issue? Said Chloe. Yes. Unlike my siblings, the dragon said, my human form can't be used in 2 locations at once, and my double is using it at the moment. So, can I use your form as a base? There was a moment of silence before Chloe started chuckling. Ha ha ha. I'm sorry for laughing, but I've never heard such an idiotic statement in my life, and that is saying something. But yes, you can use my look as a base. With permission given, the dragon's form changed to look like Chloe's, but with notable differences. Where Chloe's hair was black, the dragon form had silver hair with blotches of red, blue, green, brown, black, and purple, along with a few draconic tails. Well, forgive me for my limitations, said the dragon in Chloe's likeness. By the way, the name is ErogonWolf. He held his hand out, forming a small table and 2 chairs out of magic ore. He sat down, and Chloe followed suit. There was a full minute of silence before Erogon chimed in with a small smile. So, it does affect you. What does? Said Chloe. My skill, said Eragon. As Artorias said, it allows me to interfere with someone's fate as long as I have interacted with them or one of my subordinates. But Artorias said that I couldn't be affected by it when she used it, said Chloe. That is true, Eragon said. She can only use it indirectly. But for the true user, that is a different story. However, I have no need to change fate with you. Chloe's eyes widened. And why is that? Well, that's simple, said Eragon. I'm changing the fate of 3 individuals that you wish to save, so there's no need for me to change yours. Chloe pondered his words. I know of at least 2 I want to save, but who is the third? Wait! Chloe looked at Eragon, and he just nodded. Yes, said Eragon. I'm saving Shizu Izawa, Hinata Sakaguchi, and Rimuru Tempest. Though I can't go into all the details of the plan. Chloe nodded. Holy hell, so that's why Shayna said to have Shizu train under her. It's part of Eragon's plan. And if Shizu stays alive, that will change quite a few things. Okay then, Chloe said, looking around. So what's this red dust? I've seen magic ore, but never this red powder. Oh, said Eragon, picking up some of the dust. It's called prima materia. In other words, it's magicules that have organic properties. This entire cavern is sealed off from the rest of the world, minus one small opening near Dwargon. It has very bad circulation, so it's just my dust. Wait, Dwargon has access to this place? Shouted Chloe. Not exactly, Eragon said, using the dust to form a 3D model of the cave. There is a small outlet near the top that runs miles underground toward Dwargon but stops suddenly near the border. This is the reach of the prima materia. The sudden stop is a door that works as a seal. Beyond that, there's a large amount of magic ore, monsters, and miasma. Eragon used water to show the connection. The water part is the only part they have access to, and it's very difficult for them to get the ore. During the conversation, Hinata piped up in Chloe's head. Hey, why doesn't he have any stardust energy in him like the other true dragons? It's a little freaky. Chloe cleared her throat. I have one final question for you, she said as Eragon waited. Why don't you have stardust energy, and what is your real title as a true dragon? Oh, Eragon said as the entire cave's energy froze. That is an excellent question. Chapter 18. Truth and Revelation. The energy in the cave became stagnant as Eragon put his hand on his chin. How do I answer that without giving too much information? Master, I believe that even if you give her the truth, she would not spread it due to the gravity of the info and how it would affect everything in existence, Rosaline said in Eragon's mind. He smiled. Chloe saw the smile, and all her instincts screamed for her to run, but her mind knew there was nowhere to go. I can tell you have been in the void of time, but there are many forms of the void, said Eragon. He snapped his fingers, and the cave changed into a blank void. I will tell you a story. Another snap of his fingers brought them to an unfamiliar planet. This was my original home, or dimension, if you will, said Eragon. On this version of Earth, dragons were everywhere, and the magicule counts were 5 times higher than in the cardinal world. In this world, there was an extremely powerful dragon who had many unique abilities, but he viewed one ability as worthless. An orb of light was shown leaving the planet. That power was stardust energy. A foolish decision, in its entirety. A few millennia after casting stardust energy away, the dimension itself collapsed, leaving only the strongest dragon and all the souls he could save. The planet imploded, and all other celestial bodies vanished into the darkness. What happened next? Asked Chloe, though she already had a theory. If what he is saying is true, then he is the dragon that cast out stardust energy, making him the origin of Veldanava and the unknowing creator of all this. Well, Eragon said, his smile fading. I don't know how long he was in the void until he felt a similar power to the one he cast out. He used another power to observe what that power did, and to his surprise. Eragon leaned on the table with a more innocent smile. A whole new world with skills and abilities just like his old world. So, he began his journey there and made a deal with the being now known as Veldanava. And you're the ancient dragon that cast aside the skill, said Chloe. So your title would be the Origin Dragon, said Eragon. The start of all, but I will never encroach upon Velda's creation or the system he made here. So that's why you wouldn't have Veldanava's title of Star King, said Chloe. Correct, answered Eragon, even though I'm stronger than him. I have no need to challenge the current status quo. Even so, why were you so wounded and stuck in this barrier? Asked Chloe. The void is an unforgiving place, said Erogon. It takes as much as it gives. If I didn't have a resistance to the void itself, I would not be alive. A teleportation circle opened behind them. I think this is a good time for you to go. But don't be afraid of returning when you wish, even though I may not be in this cave. Chloe nodded. They shook hands, and Chloe left through the circle. Erogon sighed and returned to his dragon form, his wings and tail folding together. Now, how did you get in here, Leon? Erogon looked up at the tunnel entrance to see a man with blonde hair and blue eyes. A hero almost turned demonoid. Time must be moving quickly. No, he is still human, and by his expression, he didn't see Chloe. So, let's